check out the Full Press Hockey Podcast with Jim Biringer, the best in the business. It's going to be great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is the Full Press NHL Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Biringer. I'm joined today. You heard him before on the program, Mr. Russ Cohen. Hear him on Sirius XM NHL Network Radio, Sportsology, NHL Draft Buzz, and he's working for the Hockey News as well. And he's got a great book out called Game Winners, along with Matthew Blittner. Russ, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Hey, we're getting dive right into a jam-packed episode. I know you got a big event tonight that you're going to. Montreal Canadiens, they're climbing up the standings. They're right there, 1 point away from being in the playoffs. Did you see this coming into the season?
No, I thought they were going to be like coming up a little short, a point or two short, getting really close. I didn't see this. I think their surge has been impressive. And other teams have really fallen off too. So I think it's a combination of both.
Like entering the season, I looked at Montreal and I looked at their roster compared to like Buffalo and Detroit. And I was like, well, you know what? Everybody talks about these two teams that are ahead of Montreal. And I look at the roster and I'm like, you know what? They could beat those teams and be ahead of them in the standings because I'm not impressed with those two teams.
Yeah, Buffalo has nothing on Montreal. They really don't. I'm sorry, Sabres fans, but they have some good players. Don't get me wrong. Their goaltending's in flux. That's a big problem. They still have guys that haven't fully developed. That's a problem. They've got a coach who's probably past it. That's a problem. Those are problems. And who's the other team? I forget now already.
Detroit, and the Eyes are playing.
Yeah, the Eyes are playing is in a little jeopardy. He's not in jeopardy. Like, he's not getting fired, but he might have to make a left turn at some point. They didn't do much where they pick up Craig Smith. I mean, come on, man. You know, it's like picking up your grandfather and say, hey, Grandpa, let's go. You know, and you can only go for a half a day if you go to the movies or whatever. I mean, Craig Smith's wasn't the guy that was going to get him over the top. You feel bad for Patrick Kane, who clearly thought they might make the playoffs this year, and then they died on the vine. They don't have good enough goaltending at the moment. So now maybe Sebastian Cossa will change that. We'll see. They're probably going to lose Trey Augustine. I don't know if he's signing. So that's a blow. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about Detroit other than they're close, but they have to have a good offseason, like a real offseason, like actually spend money to make this team better. They can't rely all of it on young talent developing.
Like, and just staying on Detroit for a minute, like we always talk about, like the old saying is lightning doesn't strike twice. I mean, what Steve Yzerman did in Tampa, building that team before Julien Brisebois took over through the draft, I know he tried to do the same thing in Detroit. It's just not panning out the same way.
No, some of the drafting hasn't been as sharp. Player development's been pretty good. I would say it's pretty good there, but the drafting has fallen a little bit. And I think that's a part of it. I think they've made some really good selections. Don't get me wrong. I mean, some of the players they have on the team are really good, but the few that haven't panned out has kind of cost them. They just, again, they have to put money in different places. I feel like they need a little bit more veteran leadership. You brought in Kane, but Kane, he's not really Patrick Kane. He's still pretty good, but that's it. He's pretty good. They need better than that. And if you want to keep Kane, that's fine, but then you got to really bring in somebody who could do a lot more than Kane.
Yeah, Vladimir Tarasenko wasn't that guy. I mean, he's on the back end.
He's never going to be that guy. He hasn't been that guy in 4 years.
Yeah, when the Blues won the Cup in 2019, he was that guy.
Right.
But now he's not that guy. And you see it in Montreal, right? They do the things the right way. Jeff Gordon, Rangers fans, I don't know what you were doing there with that guy, but you let him go. You fired him, and he's up there with Kent Hughes. They're putting things the right way. And that drafting and development, Lane Hutson, what he's doing as a rookie ties Chris Chelios' record for most points as a Canadiens defenseman. You know, he's closing in on Larry Murphy's assist record as a rookie defenseman. He's a lock for the Calder Trophy now to win Rookie of the Year. Talk about his development and what you've seen.
Yeah, so I wrote about it on my website, Sportsology, a couple of years ago when I saw him in World Junior Camp. I was like, this, I'm pretty sure World Junior Camp was like in August or something, you know, so I had noticed he put on like 10, 15 pounds of muscle. I took a picture of him, I wrote about it, and I was like, okay, Lane, I see you now, because at the draft, you know, he dropped a lot. And it's not like he didn't have this talent. Of course he had this talent. but there was always going to be that question, what about being strong enough? What about being durable enough? What about playing more defense? He's kind of answering those questions. I think even his defense, I wrote about it the other day, for the hockey news. The other day when I wrote about it, he had 109 blocks. Like that was a revelation. Like that's something where I didn't know Lane Hutson was going to do that. So I think a lot of teams missed the boat on him, and I think even to some degree I did. I didn't. I had him in the first round once in one of my early lists and took him out, but he would have been in my early part of the second. Anybody go 60th or something?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to look obscene in a couple of years. That's, it happens sometimes. I mean, you never know what's going to happen sometimes with what a player can do on his own, and then you see that finished product. And this is why if they had an older draft, like the NFL draft is easy compared to the NHL draft. I mean, I'm not trying to, lighten it or anything, but like the players are much more developed. You know more of what you're looking at. Had we been looking at Lane Hutson when I saw him come in for World Junior Camp and he was going to be in the draft, I would have kept him in the first round.
Yeah, and like you said, the development playing in college hockey, you see that with a lot of guys, especially the defensemen. Playing 1-2 years of college hockey really helps their defensemen and their game, and he jumps right in.
You work out 3 days a week, you play the rest, or you work out 4 days a week, you play the rest. You can't do that in junior hockey.
No, or playing in the development program in U.S. development. Right. I'm not knocking the program. It's a really good program. But you go play that extra 1-2 years, you're doing everything off the ice. As we've seen, excuse me, with Luke Hughes and the Hughes brothers over in Vancouver with Quinn, Cale Makar's another one. I mean, these guys are game changers right now, especially Lane Hutson and what he's brought to the Canadiens. I mean, look at it. Carrier comes in, Laine comes back. Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield have really stepped up since Four Nations. They're getting the goaltending. And as you said before, other teams have not really played well. But again, they're taking the right steps in their development.
Yeah, Carrier was a steal. I don't know what Nashville was thinking. I don't know what they were thinking on a lot of their trades, but I knew that was a trade that was in favor of Montreal the minute they made it. And I remember saying before that season began, they needed to sort of get more veteran help on the blue line, and they did. And he was a big get. Like that was, probably under the radar at the time, but no longer, obviously, and probably not for the last few months. That was a great get. So that's a big thing. Nick Suzuki has turned into an elite player. I remember when Vegas drafted him, I was very high on him, and I saw high-end talent, and now I think he's even surpassed that. Like he's the big thing. Like there was a play he did against the Flyers where he had the puck and he kind of circled around the net and just quickly put it in, and it made me look and see Nick Suzuki's skating. How much has that improved? And he's now in the high 95th percentile of the NHL, and he gets up to 20 miles an hour. And so it's like you get that with the skill he's got and everything else, and he could score, he could pass. It's a big deal. Cole Caulfield, like we've been over that a million times. Like Cole Caulfield's great. So that's no big surprise. Slafkovsky is coming along. Eventually Reinbacher will. He's in Laval. Like they're in good shape, but I also try and caution Canadiens fans. This is a great year. Yeah, you're going to make the playoffs. Playoffs aren't guaranteed for next year. You still have, I think, what's still a little bit of a goaltending issue. I don't know if Montembeault is really the guy. Dobish is okay. You got Fowler, but you can't put him in yet. He needs a full year in the AHL. So, like next year, you never know. That team's going to depend on the goaltending a lot. Everything else is going pretty good, but we'll see. Like once they hit the playoffs, you'll see what's deficient there. Right now, they're not really chasing anybody. So they're playing good in games. That's good. And you'll see what kind of step they make when they're in the playoffs. Let's say they win one game in the playoffs. I'm not saying that's not a positive. It's a positive. It'll help the team, but it's not a guarantee they make it again the next year. I think we've seen that enough in the NHL where it's like, if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Vegas Golden Knights, yes, you're going to make the playoffs 99% of the time, 99.9. The way you're constructed right now, Florida the same way. But someone like Montreal, it's not a given. So I appreciate what they've done as far as drafting. I think I just wrote an article this morning that they can't take their eye off of drafting, even though they've got a load of prospects. There's always going to be a ton of failures in that. You're hoping to get 2 or 3 a draft, but they were picking like 8 or 9, so you probably are looking for a little more. Guys are going to age out. Guys are going to get injured. Some are, so it's like the Rangers took their eye off the ball on that. And that's what I cautioned like Montreal, like don't take your eye off the ball on that. Keep that part going. even though you're going to make the playoffs.
And you just mentioned drafting, developing. Obviously, they're going to have picks this year, and they're going to have assets to move in the offseason, but they're adding a big time player that we saw from 2024. Ivan Demidov is coming over, and he's going to be playing most likely Monday. Maybe most likely he's going to be Monday, and then he'll play in the playoffs. What can fans expect out of that? What have you seen from him?
Yeah, he's a tremendous skater. The way he kind of circles around the net is terrific. He has a great shot. Up on Sportsology, I have an old shot map of his. The way he scores is terrific, whether it's on the power play. He could score 5-on-5. But the big thing is he wasn't playing big minutes, right? So he might get winded in games. And it's not because he's out of shape. It's just because he's not used to it. Mitchkov was getting winded after during his first 5 games, I should say, because the pace is going to be different. The pace is going to be a lot harder. The defensemen are going to play a lot harder. He's going to have a little bit of a target on him. He'll be fine. But I'm just saying, Canadiens fans, don't expect this to be an instantaneous thing. It could take a little while. He's got to get used to North America. They're kind of throwing him right in there. There's no preseason here. You don't know how that's going to work out. And even if it doesn't work gangbusters, I think the Canadiens are smart enough where they'll give him sheltered minutes and try and use his offense, make sure he's on the power play. But no, there's a lot to like. He's a smart player. I think it was weird. What's weird about him was it was like a revelation that he was 6'1", right? Remember that?
Yeah. Like he was a big guy.
It was a reveal. I don't know I think he grew. I think that's what it was. But I just remembered pre-draft that, all of a sudden he was 6'1", and I'm like, oh, well that kind of changes it. And remember, last year he was in the MHL, this year the KHL, and he kind of wasn't on a great team. So, no, he was on a great team, sorry, but he didn't play a lot of minutes. So that's the thing that you have to worry about. But he's feisty. He definitely could win some puck battles. He'll lose some. He gets a lot of shots on net, though. That's his shooting percentage is really good.
That's good. I mean, they're going to need that as well. And like you said, the two things going in the offseason, I think second line center and a backup goalie or a number 1 goalie in Montreal. That to me is the 2 big things that you need to watch out for, because I could clearly see that Sam Montembeault, as great as he's playing, he's getting fatigued because they just don't have a backup goalie for him right now.
Right. And he's played more than he's ever played. And now he's going to, do that in the playoffs. One more thing about Demidov, so I looked it up on Instat, and they kind of really dig into stuff. He did win 46% of puck battles. I think that'll go down a little, but that's impressive. He did get 28% defensive zone starts. That's impressive because he's not now in the NHL. It's not going to be like that.
No,
he's going to get a lot lower. But the fact that he has that in his arsenal is good. But his time on the ice is 13:47. It's not a lot.
That's not a lot. That actually isn't a lot, considering he put up I think most points and assists as a rookie on that team as a 19-year-old.
Not a lot of opportunity,
No.
He averaged 132 of power play time. There are some guys you look at him in juniors and otherwise they're averaging 3 minutes of power play time.
Yeah,
any of that.
No, and it's different. Like we said before, it's different when guys from college make the jump because they're playing all year, like Ryan Leonard in Washington and guys like that. From one team, I mentioned it before, Jeff Gordon, and he was with the New York Rangers. They're cooked like dinner. We were talking about it the other day. They just lost to the Flyers on Wednesday night. Tyson Forster hat trick, 8-5 wild game. But the New York Rangers are in disarray and dysfunction since the beginning of the season. You said it earlier in the year, too. They got a lot of changes coming.
They do have a lot of changes coming. I know we expect Peter Laviolette to be one of them. I'd be surprised if he isn't. I don't think Chris Drury will be one of them, but I think he'll be on the hot seat. I think, ownership has to kind of look at this and say, oh, a lot of these things have not panned out. All of a sudden we stopped rebuilding and we had those couple of good, nice years, and now teams trending down. I don't know if they're making the playoffs next year. They got a lot of problems. Shesterkin has propped them up in a lot of games. The Devils did a good job. When I was at that game, they exploited the Rangers defense. The gap control on Carson Soucy, I was not really trying to be too flippant, but you could have driven a truck through it. How slow he looked compared to the Devils, even just trying to get to loose pucks. And he looked slow again like that last night against the Flyers, and they're not even as fast as the Devils on average. So it's that's a problem. I like guys like Braden Schneider. I think Keandre Miller, I think he took a step back, and they're going to have to sign him. So I don't know what that contract's going to look like, but they have to keep an eye on that. I'm not worried about Adam Fox. There's all these Adam Fox haters like, hey, he's not physical, he's soft. Just look at his point production and shut up. I'm sorry. I mean, at the end of the day, you could see how he skates. You could see the team's not great. You could see for whatever reason Mika Zibanejad sometimes can't even hit the net, which is just mind-boggling considering how locked in his shot used to be. There's something just mentally not fully there. Kreider's hurt, and then half the team doesn't really want to be there because of what happened with Jacob Trouba, and that's, Kreider will probably be out. If they could trade him, they'll trade him. And so there's going to be more changes like that. And it all started with the way they treated Trouba over the summer and then trading him. And I know everybody's like, oh, too bad. It's within his rights. It is. But they didn't have to do this in season. They could have waited until after the season. And I guarantee you they would have had a better season and probably wouldn't have had to make all these moves. And that's the problem. Every time Chris Drury made another move, he brought in a less talented defenseman, a less talented forward. Yeah, they may be, bigger guys, and yeah, maybe they're a little tougher. And maybe he was looking at them like, well, the game changes in the playoffs. And my whole thing was, well, you got to get to the playoffs. And they're not getting there. So that's the whole thing. So now looking at them for next year, yeah, I mean, you got some guys that could still have upside like Schneider and such. They've screwed around with Zach Jones. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I don't know. I mean, they have too many question marks. Offman has taken a step back. Just a lot of stuff like that. I don't worry about Panarin. Zibanejad, fine, off year, whatever. He'll be okay. But some of the other players there, like Miller's a very important player, and he's not playing his best hockey. And that hurts him because you took out Lindgren, who was really, a help for Adam Fox. There really hasn't been a suitable guy to play with Fox, so they're probably going to look for that in the offseason over the summer. Like that's going to be a big deal because their defense isn't good. It stinks.
No, it does stink, and it saw it in the 2023 playoffs too, and we saw it at times this year and during the season when the Devils play the Rangers. That speed, they can exploit it. With Miller, do you think they could move him though?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like Keandre Miller because he still has size and speed, and they'll be like, well, out of New York, we could get more out of him, and that may be true. So I do think they can move him, but you got to be careful. Like now, you're moving one of your top four defensemen. If you're not getting a youngish top four defenseman back, you can't do that move. Even if he's not playing his best hockey, it's hard to get rid of him because what are you replacing him with? You already traded Mancini too. It's like you don't really have anything that could help you down the line here. So that's the other thing. They're, while they took that detour from the rebuild because, they got Panarin, they got Fox, things started to gel, drafting and developing hasn't been great. Now, I'm not knocking Gabe Perreault, but he's not ready. I mean, no. And that's fine. I mean, that happens. I don't think he's going to be a star either. I mean, I knew that. But I still ranked him 18th because there is talent there, but he's going to have to learn how to play away from the puck. He's going to have to get stronger. He needs an AHL year or two. And right now, him getting scratched, I know Ranger fans were mad. Well, you got to play him. Okay, but taking a step back so he can look at some of that stuff might help him because I noticed, like against the Devils, his processing was slow. Miller was processing at a high rate, right? He wasn't when he was playing with Miller. Right. See the little bit of lag there, like when your computer lags, a little bit of difference, like your computer just got a little grainy, or mine. One of them did. And so like you see that, right? And so like that's what I mean with that. I think he'll be fine. I just don't think he's a star, but I think that's okay. He was picked 23rd. Yeah. You pick 23rd, you're hoping to get a good NHLer. That's what you want. I think he'll be that.
Well, you've seen it. We've talked about it. I mean, you see my opinion on X, Twitter, all the time about these young kids that leave New York. I mean, we look at it, Capo Caco, Seattle, Hito. I mean,
and he's happy. I spoke to Caco like 2 weeks ago. I wrote about it on Sportsology. He's happy. It's not like he's happy like, oh, I dumped New York. No, actually, he said he had worries back in New York. Like he had to sell an apartment. Like there's things, but he has line mates and they kept him there. So I give Disco Dan credit for doing that because the Rangers never kept the kid line together long enough. They're doing it there. They're getting chemistry. and they'll get more dividends next year. But he's already a different guy, and he's already like lightened. He's got the burden off of him.
No, yeah, and we saw that. You mentioned the kid line. Like we go back to it, right?
And there's no Hedel anymore either, right?
No, there's no Hedel, right? And Lafreniere's taken a huge step back for the Rangers this year.
In some ways, I think part of it's because of the team. The one thing is, with a lack of guys actually back checking, he's back checking.
Yeah.
Every shift, every minute. So if his offense has dropped off a bit, I'll forgive him for now because there's very few guys that are giving a full effort. When you put Brzezinski on the power play, that is an indictment of your team. No slight to him, but we all know he's not a power play guy. But what he is a guy who's trying his ass off, and not everybody is. So that's what's happening there.
No, but I could go back and point to it and say, just imagine if they kept that kid line together that was so good against New Jersey and their first run. It would have paid dividends. You move them up to your second line, and then they have chemistry. They're playing well together instead of moving everybody up and down.
No, they yo-yoed it.
They really did yo-yo it, and now you're seeing what's happening in New York. And
most of these pieces are gone, and that's the whole thing. It's like, you drafted these guys, and a lot of them are gone now, and now you're looking around, and it's like, what's left?
There's nothing left. There's nothing in the cupboard.
Not a lot.
No, I mean, same thing with things. Yeah, I mean, you could say the similar thing.
Always that extra jar of peanut butter,
like the New York Islanders for years. How many guys they let go off the island? Nino Niederreiter sticks out to be the biggest one to me.
No, Devin Taves was big.
Yeah, Devin Taves too. Yeah,
but Niederreiter was big. Like that was one where it was like I didn't get that. And if you wanted to say cap dump for Devin Taves, I just laugh at you now. Like he was on Four Nations team. He's on the top power play. I mean, come on, seriously, are we really gonna even?
Yeah.
No, I mean, we got 2 seconds for him. 2 seconds.
Yeah, you could have gotten more for that if you were really moving that. If you really wanted,
he was really good for the Islanders. He was running their power play. Like there was no problem with Devin Taves.
No, there wasn't, and they just decided,
they couldn't pay him. They were like, well, we can't pay him. You could have paid him, but you'd had to get rid of one of your other kind of favorite players, and you should have done it back then.
Right then, and because you would have had 2 studs to build around on the D with Dobson and Taves.
Right, and that's the other thing. Dobson still doesn't have the right setup for him. He's doing pretty good still. He could be better, and I think he would be better under different circumstances. But I still think he's a really good defenseman. But he could be a little better, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's going to be some changes with the Islanders too. They got to get younger. They have to.
I mean, I give Patrick Roy credit because I didn't know if he was going to stick with it this long based on his track record. He is. And I think he's making strides with the players they have. He's making Bo Horvat better because Bo Horvat was kind of like in the wilderness that first year. Bo Horvat's playing good hockey. So I think Waz had a really good effect, but they're in that mushy middle, and they do need to get younger somehow. And you can't keep signing guys to long-term deals like Brock Nelson, no offense. And that's not going to help you. I mean, you have to at least start trying to retool on the fly if that's what it takes. Because, the other thing that we have to take into account is this is a business, and UBS does not sell out.
No. Outside of the Washington game, when Ovi broke the record.
There'll be some sellouts like that, but they don't sell out generally. And there have been some tickets this year on sale for $5. Secondary market, that's secondary market. So somebody paid more freight for that, but still.
Yeah, $5 for an Islanders ticket. That's what they were going for back in the day when they weren't good. And
actually, what's interesting? So Horvat, I thought he had more points than he did. That the first half year, obviously he had a problem. Last year he had a really good year, 33 goals. I thought he was right around that again. He's got 26, but he's still having a pretty solid season. I think the team where it's at is probably the issue, not him.
Yeah.
That first year it looked iffy when they made the trade, but then last year he was good, and now this year, I think the big difference for him is you could see he's a plus player now.
Yeah.
The difference with Patrick Roy, maybe that took away some points.
Yeah, and then obviously no Matt Barzal for them as well.
That hurts too. Yeah.
Like dynamic playmaker that they have, but they still need more because I'm sorry, I'm not giving Kyle Palmieri a 2-year contract.
No.
That just doesn't make sense to
me.
Let him go. Just let him go, let him walk, get younger, go find something, just rebuild and retool and do what Washington did. And
They'll have
speaking,
Barzell next year, right? So
yeah, they'll be okay. But they're to me, they're not a playoff team just because the division is just too strong the way it is. And if Washington's going to keep playing like this, Philadelphia's on. They're starting to get their thing, but they're doing their thing, right? Like they're rebuilding.
At the end of the season, they're doing their thing, like the Sabres are doing their thing at the end of the season. But I don't know if that really counts for much, to be honest.
Yeah, who can carry it over, right? Like Buffalo does this every year.
It never carries over.
It never
so rare. Like I even told Flyers fans when they got close to the playoffs, hey, I think you're taking a step back there next year. And they did this year. They took a step back. Just because you show that doesn't mean – now, they did have a collapse at the end of last year, and they did have a collapse again this year. They also have a goaltending problem. Like, that's what happens when you have goaltending you're unsure about. Like, yeah, yesterday they won the game. Kolosov was not good in that game.
No.
To spend a lot of time in the AHL. He's not an NHL goalie yet. He's a goalie prospect. He's not ready. John Davidson, who could be very critical, knows his stuff. And when he's telling you, well, he's not really squared up and, well, he's not. These are things like he could be hammering that if he wants. He was nice about it.
Yeah, he was. I mean, good to see Sam and JD back on the airwaves. Great. That was great. They haven't missed chemistry, I'll tell you that.
No. There was no fight because John loves the fight so much that would have been like the coup de grace.
Right, exactly. But speaking of the Flyers, right, they're make the coaching change. John Tortorella's not there anymore. What he said was probably nailing his coffin.
He knew that.
Yeah, and he knew it. You could tell the look on his face. And same with what Laviolette said the other day.
And JD's already telling everybody, oh, John says he wants to coach again. Well, John's under contract.
Yeah.
So the only way he's coaching is if a team gives the Flyers a draft pick or the Flyers decide to be nice and let him go. But they may not. Who knows?
No, right, exactly.
You don't know what they're going to do.
Bradshaw comes in interim basis. He'll probably get a look by Danny Briere. But who do you think should be the coach next year, or what are the options out there?
Well, the other thing is too, when when another team hires a coach, in order to erase that coach's salary, even if you say you're letting him go, don't you have to exceed what the coach is making?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's got to pay him over 4, right? Like that's a lot of money for John Tortorella. Just saying.
Exactly. And like I said, Bradshaw's there now. Rick Tocchet, I know, is a name that everybody wants to link to Philadelphia.
Brad's doing okay. He's igniting the offense. There's not much defense.
No.
He's supposed to be a defensive guy, so I think there's a little bit of an issue there. Look, the room's lighter for sure. The mood's lighter in the post games. So you get more thoughtful answers. You actually get some insight instead of like everything being like I can't tell you. It's a trade secret kind of stuff, which is ridiculous. So there's more transparency, and that's good. But that's just to ride out the season. I think Brad will get interviewed because I think he deserves that. I don't think he'll get the job if Rick Tocchet's out there, though. If Rick Tocchet's out there, that's their guy.
Hey.
They'll go through a search like every team does, so it's not pointing directly at Rick Tocchet.
Mm-hmm.
But Rick Tocchet, we have to see if he wants to be on a rebuilding team because they're still a rebuilding team. And they might be for the next 2-3 years. So we have to see if he's up for that. If he is, then he's probably going to be the guy. But again, Vancouver decides what happens with that. So because they have the option, right? So
yeah,
if they have a mutual part of the ways, I'm pretty sure Philly will be interviewing him quickly.
I just don't see them going down the college route again.
Well, so two things. I spoke to some people close to college situation, and first thing is you can look it up and see David Carl is a 2-year deal, right?
Yeah.
So he's got 2 years, and if he wants, they probably would sign him for like 4 more.
Right.
So is he going to get a 4-year deal in the NHL? Probably not.
No.
He's probably going to get 2-year deals thrown at him, and it's like that's not enough security. He's only 35. He doesn't have to do this yet. He might win a championship this weekend. We don't know. So he might win another one. He's already won a World Juniors. Like, he's got a lot of things on his resume. Are the Flyers really the team he's going to risk that NHL audition on? I don't think so.
No.
And it's no slight to the Flyers. I just think he's going to look for a better situation.
No, that makes sense. And and obviously the normal names like Gerard Gallant, would he come back around?
Nobody
wants. No, they don't want him. So, but I will say, watching the Flyers,
now Todd Nelson is a big name.
That's true.
I think the Flyers should interview him, and I think he should get great consideration. But again, if Rick Tocchet's out there, I think it's Rick Tocchet. So
Right. Anyway, but watching them play, like the young guys, to really like, especially Mitchkov. Like Mitchkov, you could tell like this guy that the chains are off.
Especially
He's
without
going.
Ports, it's a different guy. It's the guy we saw in Russia. It's exactly the guy we saw in
Yeah.
Russia. Because now when he does cheat, he has a better idea of when to do it now, but he does it more frequently. He's more confident. Now, I'll say that the Rangers did a good job of pretty much bottling him up. There was that freaky goal that, I don't know. I don't know what Jonathan Quick was doing yesterday.
No. Yeah, I don't know.
He did get an assist on that at least. But you can see the game is totally changed, and just the way he's playing has totally changed. So I understand everybody's got this thing where they're like, well, 5 years from now, he's going to be thanking John Tortorella. I don't know about that. Sure. He did teach him two-way hockey, and then he taught him how to not get a lot of minutes. Then he taught him how to ride the bench. Then he taught him, it's like there's always so many. I said like about a month and a half ago before all this happened, he was taking this too far. And I felt like he did. And we also have to remember these coaches in Russia are not like nice coaches. These guys are hard asses too. And so like everybody's like, well, he had to deal with a hard ass. He had to deal with that over in Russia. That's why he got traded to Sochi, right? Like it's not, they don't like what you see, you're done. Like they don't have a lot of tolerance there.
No, they don't. But another guy that I've noticed that's starting to play better, I guess, is Ryan Poehling. Like he's really he's becoming that player I thought he could have been in Montreal.
Yeah, we all thought he could, back even in Minnesota.
Yeah.
We all thought he could be that player. Post-concussion, I think, robbed him of that.
Yeah.
And this year I was worried because he had another concussion, it looked like. So, but yeah, he lately is on a tear. He's got great speed. He always had finishing ability. And I think now he's taking the bull by the horns a little more. He can't play second line center. Like when Torts is putting him at second line center, it's going to derail his offensive game.
Right.
Do that. You want to put him at 3C, you can get away with it because they might put Carson DeWart at 4C next year if he could hang in there. So you want to do that, that's fine. But you can't put him in second line center, just like you can't put Noah Cates as the top center. I remember, this is how I knew Torts was getting fired. I remember saying on a show on a preview, you can't have Noah Cates matching up against Austin Matthews on faceoffs. He's going to get killed. And I don't know, Matthews was like 72% or something stupid. It's like, what are you doing? Like, it's not fair to Noah Cates. He's a really good player who has developed nicely, but there's a limit. There's a limit to everything.
Yeah, there is. There's always a limit for something. And besides the goaltending for the Flyers this offseason, because they have to decide who's going to be with Sam Ersson, because it feels like he's their guy moving forward.
I mean, for now.
For now, right?
They all have one-year deals. Everybody. Right. So I don't know. Like, is he really their guy on a one-year deal? Not really.
I mean, look, Danny Briere said the other day on Sirius, but again, things could change. He's like, well, it's Sam Ersson, and we're going to find a backup.
Sure, because he has a year on his contract.
Right.
If Sam were the guy, he'd have a 5-year deal.
Right, exactly.
Like a 5-year deal in the offseason.
No, he's not. What other areas do they need to get? And will they dip their toe into like free agency and stuff?
They will dip their toe into free agency. I don't think they're getting big names. If Marner's out there, they're not getting Marner. Those guys are all going to go to other teams. They might go to the Flyers to build up the offer because they got a lot of money to spend, but a lot of them aren't going to sign there. They need defense. If they could get a mid-range veteran defenseman, not like 29 or so, that could help them, like a Carrier thing. Mm-hmm. You can get somebody like that and plug them in. That would help because they got guys like Andre and such that you could pair them with. That would be nice. I think they're missing the boat on Helge Grans because I think he won't be there, but he's playing really well. He's going to be out there for somebody at some point to develop. So I think they'll do that. They probably will look at the center position. That's going to be the big headline. They're looking for their 1C. Yeah, well.
Join
the club. Have the money to spend on a 1C, but what kind of 1C is really going to come to Philly first?
Right.
That's where you have to. So offer sheet. Yeah, offer sheet's possibility. Gabe Vilardi's out there now. I don't think Gabe Vilardi's a 1C. I know they would try and turn him into that. And I didn't know if Zibanejad could be a 1C. And he was for a little while. He's not anymore.
No.
So that, I think that wore off a little bit. So Gabe Vilardi's out there. Marco Rossi's, another RFA out there. Like if I'm Minnesota, I got to lock him up quick. But especially if they know in their heart they're going to lose Kaprizov, which I think the whole world knows that Kaprizov is going to leave. And
Ooh.
I think he's going to Chicago. Whether that happens or not, who knows? But that, just like Panarin seemed set on going to New York way back when, it seems like, and even when he was in Columbus, we all knew that was a temporary stopover. I think eventually Kaprizov is going to go. So I think they should put their money in Rossi. But if they don't, somebody's going to sign that kid to an offer sheet because he's having a hell of a year. And don't look at the frame. He plays much bigger than his frame. And so he's finally been healthy. And he's really good. So I think they're gonna look at offer sheeting guys like that. Whether it comes through, who knows? I mean, they tried Shea Weber back in the day, it didn't work out. So I think they'll grab headlines with saying they're gonna try to get their center. I don't know if they're gonna succeed. They might offer sheet. I don't know if they're gonna succeed.
Yeah.
I think in the end they'll pick up some mid-range free agents and promote a little bit and go from there.
Real quick, one more before I let you go. The offer sheet, you mentioned it. My head was spinning when you said it. Do we finally see the NHL GMs use it more now that we saw how successful it was in St. Louis?
Yeah, I do think so, because I think since there's no set guaranteed amount of years to rebuild, it could supercharge a rebuild. And we saw what's happening with the Blues. Like, they've had a resurgence thanks to the Oilers. I mean, I wouldn't have look. Broberg, I would have let go. I know he has a lot of points. I still think he's an offenseman, but he does fill a lot of minutes, and he does have points. There's no way Dylan Holloway should ever have left Edmonton. He was always going to be too good. He was always going to be a high point guy, not a super high point, but 60 points.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy. And just to let the Blues have him like that.
Yeah. The Edmonton thing, we could talk for hours about that, because I just didn't like their offseason. I didn't like the fact they didn't have a GM going into July 1. I didn't like they didn't take care of their own. And they had guys that could have filled needs that they have now.
And is Skinner really going to go on a run? Doesn't look like it.
No. They're going to lose to LA in the first round, my opinion, because LA's got home ice this time.
Right. And their defense is hurting. I was watching some of that game against the Blues. It's not great.
No.
And, Evan Bouchard, for the people that want to defend him defensively, I just say go look at the goal that Cutter Gauthier scored on him and got the first step and went in and nailed a backhand high, top shelf. You've got to do something with your stick or something to try and prevent that. He just toasted you.
I will say this. If you're going to pay him what you're going to pay him, and then you're going to have Bouchard and Nurse, two guys that are poor defensively.
I wouldn't say Nurse is poor. I think Nurse is fine defensively. He's just not a superstar defensively.
He's not a $9.5 million defenseman.
Right.
That, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's fair. I agree with you.
So, but we're going to see what happens come the playoffs starts next week. It's going to be interesting. By the way, for Devils fans out there who are all happy they made the playoffs, they're 3-12 in Carolina in 15 games.
I think they all know that. Honestly, I think they have this feeling of impending doom, and you never know.
Yeah.
Freddie Anderson chokes a couple games away. You never know what might happen, and that could happen.
That could happen, unless they go with Kochetkov.
I don't think they will. Brendan Moore, if he goes with Kochetkov game 1, I might fall out of my chair. I don't think he'll do it.
No, I don't think so. Anything big coming up for you, Russ?
No. Everything's going good. Draft right now. I'll have a new draft list coming out soon. Maybe we'll have another video coming out soon for elite prospects. Working on that, and just enjoying the year, enjoying the Mets. Pete Alonso's back, so I can wear this sweatshirt for another year. That's a Polar Bear sweatshirt. Then we'll see.
All right, guys. Full Press NHL podcast. Russ Cohen joins us. Get him Sirius XM Sportsology. He's got the new book out with Matthew Buttner. Game winners, NHL Draft Buzz, Elite Prospects, Hockey News. Always a pleasure to have you on here, Russ.
Same here, Jim.
Take care, guys. iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. Also up on YouTube. We'll be back again real soon.
Barry Trotz, Nashville Predators, making sure you're listening to Full Press Hockey Podcast.